Welcome to the Sizzle Basketball Podcast. And today I'm going to again continue what I've been talking about for the last two podcasts, where I talk about the NBA Finals. As you currently know, the Phoenix Suns hold a 2-1 game lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 4 will be tonight. So we'll keep an eye out on that one to see if the Bucks can even up the series or if the Suns can go up 3-1 and have a chance to close it out at home in Game 5. So, the last podcast that I did, I talked about the things that the Bucks needed to do in order to win Game 3, and they did those exact things. They shot the three ball well. Middleton played much better. Holiday played better, and they played great defensively. Those are the couple of things that I mentioned in the last podcast that they needed to do. And again, they did those things, and it led to a Game 3 win. They dominated in the second half, completely dominated in the second half. First half was, tight for the most part, but the second half they absolutely took over the game, especially in the fourth quarter there, and, closed the game very well. So things to look for, in my opinion, here coming up in Game 4. You want to see Milwaukee play the same way. Milwaukee getting off to a good start is important again. They got off to a solid start in Game 3. And then, of course, you want to see them play the fourth quarter the way they played it the other night. Just win the fourth quarter. That's the biggest thing for Milwaukee, because a lot of times what will happen is they'll be ahead, or even in situations in this series, right, where a lot of times they're down against Phoenix going into the fourth and they lose the fourth. They can't do that. They got to win the fourth just like they did, and they got to go into the fourth with a lead as well. So I know it sounds pretty obvious what I'm saying here, like Captain Obvious, but it's what needs to happen, because this is a Milwaukee team that can't let guys like Chris Paul and Devin Booker close the game for Phoenix. They can't let the ball get in those guys' hands late in the game and have it be too close, because those guys can close really well, and they've proven that they can close really well in the postseason so far. So Milwaukee needs to make sure that they have a comfortable lead going into the fourth, and they can continue to just push the pace, get in transition, hit threes, and get Giannis to the rim. And if they can continue to do those things, I don't see why Milwaukee would not win Game 4. I'm going to take Milwaukee for Game 4 to even up the series. I think they win tonight by double digits again. I think they'll get off to a really good start, and I think in the fourth they'll play really well again in the fourth and win the fourth. I think it will be very similar to Game 3. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Devin Booker and his poor performance in Game 3. I don't really find it as a big deal, to be honest with you, as much as you want to see every game be a great performance. Booker has played great pretty much every single game in this postseason. He maybe had that one bad game where he wore the mask against the Clippers. You could say that was one game that he didn't play too well in Game 3 against the Clippers. And here the other night in Game 3 against Milwaukee. So I'm just not too worried, because Booker's always, been a great scorer, and he's showing that he could be an efficient scorer in this postseason. Underrated passer. I'm not really nervous about his performance. I think he'll come back tonight and have 30 plus, shoot the ball well, move the ball well, just get back into the flow of the game. I think it was just a rough night for him the other night. I think Phoenix also got a little too excited. I think they knew that they were up obviously 2-0, and they knew they had a chance to go 3-0 in Milwaukee, and I think they just let it get ahead of themselves a little bit. But most people, I would assume, would have expected Milwaukee to win Game 3. Obviously, that was a must-win, because no team has ever come back down 3-0 before, and I don't think it will ever happen, to be honest with you. So Milwaukee knew they had to win Game 3, and they did what they had to do. So no surprises on my end for Milwaukee winning Game 3. They're a very good team. There's a reason why they're here right now playing Phoenix. So I was not too surprised about that. So, yeah, of course, Booker, you want to see Booker play better in Game 4 tonight, which I think you will see him play much better. Chris Paul played well in Game 3. Finished with 19 points and 9 assists. On 57% shooting, he shot the ball 14 times. Maybe you want to see him shoot the ball a little more when he's shooting that well, right? But obviously the main thing for Chris Paul is to get other guys involved first, and then let his game do the work. Jay Crowder played really well too. Made 6 threes, which is crazy to think about. Even though Crowder has developed himself into a good shooter the last couple of years, for Crowder to go 6 of 7 from the 3-point line, is very impressive. Mikal Bridges didn't play too well. He shot 50%, but he only shot the ball 4 times. Had 4 points. Didn't make a 3, which is very surprising, because it seems like every game you see Mikal Bridges make at least 1 or 2 threes. So you want to see a little bit of a better showing from him, hopefully in Game 4 tonight. And then for DeAndre Ayton, had 18 points with 9 boards. You look at the numbers and you'd say, he played well. But if you really watch the game, he didn't play that well. He got into foul trouble way too early. Which really caused a lot of issues for Phoenix because of Dario Saric being out with the torn ACL. Phoenix does not have a lot of good backup big man. Cameron Johnson's a power forward who is pretty small for the power forward spot too, so he can't really play center. And, it's tough and then, of course, they put in Frank Kaminsky, but he's not playing well at all. But it's tough for, Phoenix to really do much without a good backup, center, a big power forward. And that guy was Dario Saric for them. And now that Saric is out for the season with an ACL, sending all the prayers to him, obviously. It's going to be tough for Phoenix really to do much if DeAndre Ayton gets in foul trouble early and he has to be taken out of the game like he did in Game 3. And you see, obviously, there where DeAndre Ayton got taken out of that game early because of foul trouble, it really shows you two things. It shows you, obviously, that Phoenix doesn't have a good backup big man and that DeAndre Ayton is super valuable to this team, maybe just as valuable as Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Because without DeAndre Ayton, they don't have any sort of big man presence, and Milwaukee's going to kill him inside with Giannis and Lopez. And it showed in that game. It showed. Lopez had 11 points, but, made a couple nice shots down low. And, of course, Giannis had 41. So it shows what happens when DeAndre Ayton's in foul trouble down low and you can't rely on him down low. So definitely something that, Phoenix needs to, or not Phoenix, sorry, DeAndre Ayton needs to work on going into this next game, not getting into foul trouble. And it's crazy because he's done such a good job all, postseason, not getting into foul trouble. So, just continuing that, not getting into foul trouble would be the right thing for DeAndre Ayton, obviously, because you saw when he got into foul trouble early how it really affected this Phoenix Suns team. Cameron Johnson played incredible the other night, had a nice poster dunk over PJ Tucker. I personally thought it was a charge, but it is what it is. It was a great dunk. Finished with 14 and 5, but really just shot the ball really well. Went for, hit one three-pointer. And, he did shoot 1 of 5 on the three-point ball, but he hit the one three-pointer when he went on a little run himself. He went on like a little 8-0 run himself, all by himself, and he hit that three-pointer. So that was pretty big. So, Cam Johnson, he got 30 minutes the other night. You saw the effect he has on the game. Obviously, now he's going to get more minutes. Or obviously, last night, he got more minutes than normal because of DeAndre Ayton being in foul trouble. But I want to see Cam Johnson still get around 24, 25 minutes. I think he's valuable. He doesn't take a lot of shots, but it seems like whenever he takes those shots, he makes those shots. He's a solid three-point shooter. He's got a little bit of a mid-range game. He can get to the rim pretty well, too. Just obviously needs work defensively. He's not great defensively. And that's another issue with DeAndre Ayton coming out is that you bring in a bunch of guys, like I mentioned, that can't play defense. Kamitsky can't play defense. Cameron Johnson's not great defensively. So you're bringing in these guys that really can't play great defense. And Mikal Bridges is a heck of a defender, but he's not big enough to guard Giannis, right? He's doing a great job on Middleton and Holiday at times when he switches on to Holiday, but he's not big enough to guard Giannis. So that's where the issues comes in when DeAndre Ayton gets in foul trouble early. Cameron Payne, I want to see him play a little bit better. This series hasn't been too great for him, personally, in my opinion, but I think he can get a step back here in Game 4. I expect a pretty big game for him in Game 4. Torrey Craig, it was nice to see him back on the floor in Game 3 because, Game 2 he was out or got injured partially through Game 2, and they said it was going to be a day-to-day situation. And thankfully he came back in Game 3, and he didn't really do too much to affect the game on the offensive end, but that's not his game. He affected the game very well defensively, and that's really why you have him in there, to hit a couple threes and to affect the game defensively. So nice to see Torrey Craig back out there again on the floor there in Game 3. So that's it really from the Phoenix side. I mean, just for Phoenix, obviously, you want to see a better performance from Booker. You want to see Ayton get out of foul, not be in so much foul trouble early. And Mikal Bridges just shoot the ball more because he's played so well this postseason. Played great in Game 2. You want to see a Game 2 type of performance in Game 4 tonight from Mikal Bridges. And I think Phoenix can get a win if Mikal Bridges plays well, because obviously you would expect Booker to have a good bounce-back game and Ayton to have a better bounce-back game as well. So Mikal Bridges is the key, in my opinion, tonight for this team. Now on to the Milwaukee side. I already talked about Middleton, obviously, and let me go into Giannis really quick. Giannis played incredible the other night. Back-to-back 40-point games with double-digit rebounds. Also added 6 assists to that total. How about the ability of Giannis Antetokounmpo to make his free throws, right? 13 to 17, 76% the other night for Giannis. If Giannis can get to a mark around 76%, even 73%, it will take his game to a whole other level, because now he's shooting free throws solid for the position he plays. He would be one of the I'm trying to think of a number really to put out here for you guys, maybe top 12, top 15 free throw shooters at that power forward spot if he could shoot it around 76%. Probably top 10, honestly. I should rephrase that. Probably top 10. So, because I know you got guys like Randall, obviously, who shoot the free throw really well. So there's obviously some guys he would have to compete with, but no doubt. I mean, he's shooting the free throw ball 70, and Draymond, I think, shoots a little higher than 76. But he shoots the free throw ball 76%. That's great for him. Usually he's, around 60% on the season, and then he's been around 40 to 50% here in the postseason. So Yeah, I mean, in this series, he's actually done very well with the free throw. And obviously, he does much better at home because, he doesn't have the whole crowd chanting the seconds against him at home. So he does better at home. If you look at the numbers during this postseason, he's obviously done better free throw percentage-wise at home. But in this series, man, he shot the free throw ball really well. He's found a groove, too. And I always notice this thing about Giannis. He goes to the line and he either misses both. Or sorry, no. Let me rephrase that. He goes to the line. He either makes one and misses one or makes both. He never misses both. I kind of noticed that. Like, it's rare to see Giannis miss both, which is kind of a good thing in a way, even though he struggled with his free throw. And like I said, he's gotten better in this series, but he's still overall struggled throughout the postseason. But, yeah, that's if you can get a guy that can go to the line and at least make one of two every time, you can live with that at times, even though that's a struggle. You can live with that. It's better than some of these guys like Ben Simmons that go to the line and miss both, right? That's where you really get concerns when a guy goes to the line and misses both, when they can just hack a shack on the whole game towards the end. But they can't do that with Giannis at the end of the game because Giannis is at least going to make one of two every time, where a guy like Simmons is going to most likely miss both. So definitely something to keep an eye out for there is Giannis's ability to make free throws at a higher percentage. Didn't hit any threes the other night and still had 41 points. Usually Giannis knocks down one or two threes, but had 41 without hitting any threes. He's able to get to the paint too easy in this series, in my opinion. No paint presence defensively right now from Phoenix. Obviously, I mentioned DeAndre Ayton being in foul trouble, definitely hurt in Game 3. But how about in Game 2? He wasn't in foul trouble. He still gave up 40+. And we know Giannis is one of the top 5 players in the world, probably one of the top 3 players in the world, honestly. And we know what he can do and what he's capable of. But, he's getting into the paint way too easy. And, the transition game for Milwaukee, when Giannis is running down the floor, you're not going to be able to stop him. So that's why you have to take every single offensive possession if you're Phoenix and really make sure it matters. You're obviously not going to make every shot you take, but you have to try to shoot a high percentage because you can't let Milwaukee get the defensive rebound, and then run in transition with Giannis because you're not going to be able to do anything when Giannis is running in transition. So if you're Phoenix, you need to make sure you're taking the right shots and you're making a high percentage of the correct shots you take, because the other night that was an issue. Right, they missed a lot of shots. They seemed to kind of rush some shots too, and it led to a lot of transitions from Milwaukee. And once Giannis gets in transition, as I mentioned, it's game over. There's not much you can really do. So keep an eye out for that one in Game 4 for sure. Jrue Holiday came back and played really well. He struggled obviously in Game 2, played great in Game 3. Had 21 points with 9 assists. How about Jrue Holiday making 5 threes on 10 attempts, 50% from the three-point line? Very, very impressive for Jrue Holiday. Played great defensively. He gave Booker and Chris Paul, even though Chris Paul played well, I would say more he gave Booker struggles in that game. And still, even with, Chris Paul, playing very well, he still gives Chris Paul struggles, even though Chris Paul's played great in the series, because you can tell throughout the game they try to get a lot of switches when Jrue Holiday's on Chris Paul and try to get Jrue Holiday off Chris Paul. That shows you how great of a defender Jrue Holiday really is, because they're trying to get him constantly off Chris Paul and off Booker and off these guys all the time, because they know what he can do defensively. He's a pest defensively, right? He's very physical defensively. He's a great switch. He switches great defensively. He's a great weak side defender. He's even pretty good in the post defensively for a guard, so really can do a little bit of everything defensively for a guard. So that's why Jrue Holiday is so valuable in this series. And, Milwaukee needs to rely on him defensively, and Milwaukee also needs him to give them these types of offensive performances as he did in Game 3, again, throughout the rest of the series. So going to be something as well to keep an eye out for. How about the performance last night of Pat Connaughton? Or the other night, sorry, not last night, the other night. Only shot the ball 5 times, but hit 2 threes. It seems like whenever Pat Connaughton comes in, yes, like I mentioned in previous podcasts, he does struggle defensively, but he brings in a shooting that you can't ignore. He's a great 3-point shooter, and he kind of, defenses a lot of times forget about him, and they leave him open, and it allows him to knock down those open 3-point shots. And he's a guy who I think, got 30 minutes the other night from Milwaukee. May seem like a lot. For Milwaukee, but obviously you got to remember, Milwaukee's missing Dante DiVincenzo. Bryn Forbes is not playing as many minutes as he normally would. He only played 4 minutes the other night. Like I mentioned, I want to see more minutes out of Forbes. But no, Connaughton's coming in, he's hitting threes, and he's moving the ball well. He passes the ball pretty well too, had 4 assists the other night. So definitely another thing to keep an eye out for. How about Bobby Portis? Bobby Portis has been great this whole series, especially in the postseason. Bobby Portis has been great. A couple games he didn't play. During this postseason, I know he was very upset about that. He expressed his frustration because he knows what he's capable of, and he stepped in when they allowed him to play, and he's shown his worth. He's shown that he's going to be a guy that Milwaukee's going to rely on for the rest of the series a decent amount. He's a guy who can get to the 3-point line and make threes. He hit 1 the other night. He rebounds very well. He brings that energy that you want from a guy like him off the bench, and he can get to the rim pretty well. He's pretty good in the post. He's got a nice little post fade. So you want to see Bobby Portis continue to get, he got 18 minutes the other night. I want to see Bobby Portis get more minutes, around 23, 24 tonight. So that's something that I obviously want to see Bobby Portis getting more minutes in Game 4, because I think that will really help Milwaukee, because like I said, he's great defensively and he brings the energy you need in a final series, because Phoenix has that energy guy, Jay Crowder, and you need to match that energy guy with Bobby Portis, in my opinion. So something that needs to happen in Game 4 for Milwaukee. And then, of course, PJ Tucker, obviously he is not scoring well, but he's a guy who doesn't normally score well. So that's not something that surprises me. But he's a guy who gives you great rebounding. He's great defensively on the perimeter and in the post, and he's shown that in this series. And he's very physical, and he's another guy who brings that energy that Milwaukee needs in this series. Milwaukee needs those energy guys. They need the PJ Tuckers of the world. They need the Bobby Portises of the world to help them in this series, because, like I said, Phoenix has a guy like that, Jay Crowder. So Milwaukee needs to match that energy that Phoenix brings every single night. And if they want to match that energy, they're going to need guys like PJ Tucker and guys like Bobby Portis to bring that energy as well as performance in this series for them to have an opportunity to win. So that's going to wrap it up for me for this podcast. Again, I'll say my prediction again. I expect Milwaukee to win tonight and even up the series at 2-2, which means you'll head back to Phoenix with a 2-2 series. That game will be on Saturday night, Game 5. So make sure you tune into that one too. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and make sure you go check out the game tonight.